Spoilerin time, Brian. What do you think?
It's spoilerin time. I'm going to spoil the face off of all these shows. Which one? The only question is which one deserves the spoilage first. Do you want to start with maybe Don't Trust Andrew Mayne, since he's a friend of both of ours?
Right. We'll do Don't Trust Andrew Mayne, then we'll do Archer, and then we'll do Sherlock. Because I think that's ascending order of spoileriness, right? Because Sherlock's the harder one for folks in the U.S. to watch. And then Archer, and then Don't Trust Andrew Mayne. I'm not sure exactly how spoilery you can be with a reality show.
Well,
but obviously, full disclosure, Andrew Mayne, a friend of ours.
Yes.
So when we watched his show, we were, as I said on the other show, sort of inclined to not want to like it, so we could give him a hard time. And
but despite and that's one of the weird parts is you seem a little more tolerant of reality show programming. You like Iron Chef and that kind of stuff, whereas I in general don't really dig on reality at all. But I do understand that there's a certain language you speak in reality television.
Reality programming, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct.
You dig on reality just fine. He's not having a psychic break.
I'm not even that much of a fan of actual reality. But I will say that for a show that has to speak the language of reality television, I thought they did an extraordinary job of capturing, number one, the magic that Andrew developed, along with a super talented team of magicians behind him as well. But also the fact that they roped in a story, the fact that they sort of create this collage after the fact, where you've got all these little moments, and through editing, as you do with reality television, you weave a narrative after the fact of stuff that maybe didn't happen in the order that it looks like, but it tells a bigger story. This right here, if you throw it on here, this is one of my favorite segments. Is the magic is where he takes somebody's bike and links it to the bike rack, where there's no way to get it off. The wheel is actually linked on there, and then he walks away. I really enjoyed it, and my favorite part of this was showing it to my kids, who they know that they met. That's them calling right now. They know that they met Andrew once, and that's it. But they were laughing so hard. They had a great time. I dug it.
It fit the reality show trope in the part that we have some real folks with a real problem that then the producers are able to shape into that narrative arc you're talking about. Like, what is the problem going to be? How are we going to overcome it? Where do we meet the resistance? And then the climax is the solving of it in the denouement. What's amazing about what Andrew did, I think, is that climax and denouement is just fantastic, because he's not doing magic tricks. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but he's using his talents as a magician to go over the top in solving these people's problems, right?
Yeah.
So the guy who talks on the cell phone too much, it's not just like a psychologist who sits down and explains to him, the problems of ignoring your fiance or whatever. It's, let's embed the phone in a phone booth, right? It just takes it over the top. So there's that aspect of it. But then he has these little vignettes that you're talking about that kind of peppered throughout. At first, they confused me because I didn't see how they related to the main plot line. But as they go on, you start to realize he's showing you different aspects of the piece that he's going to pull together at the end. And I kind of like that variety, because you get to see a few different faces, you get to see a few different tricks, and like you showed with the bike, like some of them are really impressive. Most of them are really impressive. So I thought it was very enjoyable to watch.
By the way, we're looking right now at a graphic from Don't Trust Andrew Mayne. One of the things we did with Justin, we hopped on and we had a viewing party where we sort of chatted and made jokes with each other. And I think we're going to do that again tonight. I think we may continue to do that. We obviously can't show the show, but we can talk to you during the commercial breaks. You can watch us responding to the show real time, which is an unusual proposition. Like we have the show itself, and now we've seen a new type of show that's all about recapping the show you just watched, ours being one of them. And then now we're trying new unexplored space of watch us watch the show at the same time that you're watching the show. And so that'll be at justin.tv/scamschoolbrian tonight.
Let's talk a little bit about Archer. Now, this one is going to be interesting for us to continue to talk about, because you can't. We're going to get a new Archer tonight. Yeah. So a lot of people are going to watch Cordkillers after they've watched tonight's Archer. And we're going to be talking about last week's Archer, because we're recording it before tonight's Archer comes out. But anyway, season premiere, we knew what was coming because we got spoiled by it with your retelling and some online articles about what was going to happen in season one. So I knew that there was going to be a big explosion at the beginning, and I knew that we were going to have them become drug dealers, but it didn't change the enjoyability of it one little bit. I wanted to hear how they insulted each other. I wanted to hear Archer complain. I wanted to hear the jokes of the FBI coming in and saying we had no acknowledgement, and people realizing that mom knew it all the time.
Right.
And it just carried me right through until that ending montage, which went way too long, and I didn't care. I enjoyed that the hell out of that.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, while we were watching Don't Trust Andrew Mayne, you were recording Archer, right? And so they were up against each other, and you could see the chatter on Twitter. In fact, one of the things that got slightly more traction was the chatter about Archer on Twitter. But then there was this one moment where everyone just said, best montage ever. Had no idea what they were talking about or what to expect from it. But holy cow, were they correct. Like this epic, like tells what, a year or two's worth story.
Yes,
that exactly. It comes out the other side.
I wouldn't be surprised if half the stuff in that montage isn't even from future episodes, that they just kind of made stuff up to throw in there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that the montage is already done and happened. And starting tonight, it's going to be like, yeah, so anyway, we've been drug dealers for a couple of years, and here's our life. And those are things that all happened. And it was amazing. It was really, really great. Love those guys. Love the show. Really excited to keep on watching.
Well, and that's one thing, is that felt like a transitional episode, and maybe it was partly because I knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But I'm really excited about tonight, because as much as I enjoyed that season premiere, I'm like, okay, now how does this work?
Right.
How do we bring in the Soviet premiere, which I'm sure we're going to? Like, what new nemesis are we going to have on the scene, and why? And I am excited that these guys had enough self-realization to say, sure, we can play out the ISIS thing for a few more years, but we're getting bored with that, and that's going to show through, and it's going to be a fight against that. Let's do something that gets us excited again.
Yeah, how about the whole, like, Charlene being a country music star and all this stuff just out of nowhere? I mean,
Cheryl?
Cheryl, Carol, Charlene.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And if you haven't gotten on the Archer train, go back and watch it. The first episode I really felt like was gratuitous and over the top just for the sake of setting the palette. But once you get into it, the characters and the timing is great.
Well, and that's kind of, that's the whole series of Archer is like that. They're going to slap you in the face, and you're not going to be sure you like it at first.
Yeah.
But they'll stop slapping you eventually, and then you will like it.
like an abusive husband, that Archer. Thanks so much, guys.
Sort of. Yeah.
All right, man. So let's talk Sherlock.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, premiered on PBS last night. So folks in the U.S., go back to a couple of spoiler times ago if you want to catch up on what we thought of episode 1. We're going to talk about episode 3 now, right?
Yeah. Dude. Episode 3 was light years ahead of the other two. Easily the best of the bunch.
Really? That's interesting.
No, it's and now even then, my big complaint about number 2 was that many of the scenes just lingered on too long. But I only felt that once or twice. For example, the 3-minute deconstruction of what to do now that he's been shot inside his head, and essentially he solves the mystery of, have I been shot? What should I do? And the conclusion he comes to is, try to stay alive. I mean, it was like,
well, no, it was fall backwards. He was trying to figure out all the stuff.
Yes.
I felt like there was a lot more to that than what you just explained.
I felt, okay, I'm overstating it certainly, but that seemed to go a little bit too long for me. I really, really liked this episode. I thought the villain was very believable, and I like the fact that it made me hate him from the beginning. This is one of those I loved, and of course, major spoiler here, the fact that they teased the return of Moriarty. I thought they did a good job. It was in character with that, and I like the way they've peppered his appearances and flashbacks and in Holmes's mind. I enjoyed all of that, and I also enjoyed the whole. I was afraid that they were like, oh, well, no wonder they invested 2 episodes making us care about Holmes's fiance, now wife, because they're obviously going to kill her off. And then when they didn't, and instead they're all like, yeah, bro, take you as you are, crazy assassin wife. You know, it's like I dug all of that. I thought all of it was easily the best of this season.
I disagree with that.
Wow.
That last thing that you said. I agree with what you said about the relationship. I agree with what you said about Moriarty. I still think that episode 2 is my favorite of the season. It's interesting. Like episode 1 for me has high dynamic range, right? Like some of the best moments of the 3 episodes are in the first episode, but there are also some of the worst moments and some of the slowest moments for me. The second episode, I mean, we talked about it all last week, but I still didn't get that impression of dragging through. I didn't get that impression of I'm just waiting for him to get to the next thing. I felt like that episode had the perfect pace for me. This third episode has lower dynamic range, but it's probably right up above or equal to the average awesomeness of the second episode. It's just very consistent.
That's a good way to put it. One metaphor you could use is like, and I hear this said about the stock market, is if you put your left hand in 1 degree water Celsius and your right hand in 99-degree water Celsius, then on average, you're a pleasant 49 degrees. Of course, that's not how it feels at the time. Whereas this was closer to, both of them being in, 40, 60 or so. So it's still the same average, but less extreme from one side to the other.
I found the villain guy with the glasses who's like, I just have a mind palace, a little bit of a cheat. Like, I know that was supposed to be the big reveal. That's the one thing that I was like, oh, he just memorized it all. Because they usually don't fool you by showing you something that's not true. And I felt like they showed you something was not true when they showed you his perception of what we later realize is just his perception of his own mind palace. But it looks like things are being projected onto his glasses.
See, what's funny is I never once thought they were special glasses. The entire beginning, I'm like, oh, just like they show the way Sherlock sees the world, we're seeing the way this guy sees the world. And to me, and it was weird for me when Sherlock's like, let me see your magic Google glasses. Oh, they're not magic at all. I was like, well, why would you think they're? Have you watched Sherlock? They do this all the time. So
because
in that case,
it was entirely different. It was in computer font, and they made a point of showing him putting the glasses on before he did it every time.
It's in a computer font because he's a computer kind of guy. He's a cold analytical machine. It's how they show him seeing the world. I never once saw it that way. So as a result, like that's fascinating. Yeah, and in fact, I was disappointed when he goes to reach for the glass. I was like, oh, they just made up a MacGuffin that there's some magical glasses that clearly doesn't exist in reality. And I was annoyed, but then I was like, oh, it's what he thinks. Oh, good. Thank goodness they didn't have him have magical glasses. I would have been annoyed by that.
Because they actually make lots of references to his vault and the data banks and how he stores the information the whole way. I mean, whether you picked it up or not that's a whole interesting thing. I think was definitely their intent to mislead you down that road.
Yeah, I could see that. I took it as a metaphor from the beginning. Not so much the vault. I thought that the vault was a famous thing or whatever. And I don't know how I felt about him being actually fooled, because it seems like Sherlock Holmes should just never be fooled. It seems like whenever he looks like he's being fooled, it's just because, not by that obvious a ploy, right?
Right. No, I agree. I definitely agree with you there. I think I really loved what really charmed me was that home scene where Sherlock's parents are there, and like you say, they have the confrontation where you expect him to just dismiss her or she gets killed or something horrible happens, and instead he's just like, well, you know what, I'm friends with freaking Sherlock Holmes, so why would I hold hold you having a secret life against you? I thought that was all really fun and not overplayed. It could have easily become schmaltzy and stupid, and they didn't.
Yeah, totally agreed. Two things, and they're different, one at the beginning, one at the end, both things I liked a lot, was the unrepentant, unabashed depiction of Sherlock Holmes as a genuine heroin addict. That was amazing. And the fact that they didn't shy away from it. And of course, it has precedent in the books. He was addicted to cocaine. And him as a cold-blooded murderer at the end. Just freaking like, well, looking at how this all ends up, there's only one way to make it go away and give someone what they deserve. And he just puts a bullet in the guy's brain and be like, yep, I guess that's done.
And it clearly shows the sociopath aspect, where he doesn't kill because it doesn't help, not because he has any moral quandary with it.
Yeah. Well,
and he gets to a point where he's like, well, only thing to do is kill. Boom.
Yeah, and I guess I also like the fact that at the end, I thought clearly what they were doing, and they set it up well, where it's like, fine, you just kill, and then Mycroft's like, look, we gotta do something with him. Let's send him on this suicide mission to, for 6 months, and then that's it. And he flies off, and I'm thinking like, oh, that's clever. Then we'll see him come back 6 months from now, and instead,
no, you're right. I almost forgot about that part. I was so happy that I didn't predict it correctly.
Yes. Well, and I love that as well, and it sets up a clear and immediate threat under there, and it also, I can see that being kind of a thing hanging over the next series as it comes out is, this constant threat, because understand, like, he's beholden to the government. Mycroft has him under his thumb now, where it's just like, don't forget, you killed a dude, and we were only going to get you out because you do this crazy suicide mission, and now you're not doing it. And then I look forward to the next set of chess games that happen.
Yeah. I really thought they were going to give me a self-contained ending.
Yep.
That would leave it so that you thought there would be another series, but if there wasn't, it would be okay, right? Just be like, well, he's off in Serbia or whatever, right? And that's the end of that, until they eventually get around to reviving it, maybe down the road. But instead, they're like, oh no, mother, we're going to bring you another season, and here's what's going to be in it, and we're just going to give you a taste right now.
Well, and they also, think about this, as annoyed as I was with how far they went out of the way of the first episode of this series to say all the different ways that Sherlock might actually be alive or whatever, like it belabored it and it made it not fun for me to watch it. It makes sense that they would go that far if you're going to go ahead and say, oh, by the way, Moriarty is alive too. Because you need to have had that exercise of seeing so many different ways that Sherlock could have made that happen in order to, because they won't give us that mystery. They'll never tell us. And they technically didn't with Sherlock either, but they at least said, here are 5 or 6 different ways it might have happened. But they won't give that to us with Moriarty, and only because we've been through it so many times am I willing to swallow, like, all right, I can see Moriarty playing a game on that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was brilliant and a good commitment to the fans. Like, no, you're going to get something amazing, and this time your off-season speculation isn't going to be what's happening off the show. Right. Your off-season speculation is going to be what's going to happen next time.
Yeah. Nope. It's great. Well done, gentlemen. Good series. I like the third the best.
Mark Gatiss, Stephen Moffat. Applause. You've done it again.
Burp.
I like essentially with all of our spoiler shows, they just sort of end.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what we do. I think that's
totally fine. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. Well, cool. I am going to make the post for this episode and not say whether it's video or audio, so that I don't risk confusing.
T2, can I share the link that you shared with me in the chat? Because I'd like for people to see it. I really like what's coming together here.
What's he? Oh, you mean the site?
Yeah.
Mock-up? Yeah.
On the site. I don't want to. Let's see if T2 is still watching. And then there's the lag. Still working on fixing the lag. And okay, yes. Everybody go to t2t2.eu/Cordkillers. There we go. And Brant will throw that on there. Take a look at this. This hot sauce. Does this do anything for you?
Oh, yeah.
Looks great. We should have like a live section in there with embed on the thing. Man, I'm sorry I'm so stopped up. I'm sure I sound terrible.
I think it'd be good to have a link to the live section, although just telling people cordkillers.com/live is usually the most effective way to get them to it. It's good to have another avenue in there.
Yeah. Right on. Well, in this case, okay, so plan for the rest of the day is I got to do like my normal Monday stuff, and we will do is it okay if we plan on doing the same thing we did for the viewing party? I know you've got other stuff going on.
I'm going to be at the Sword and Laser meetup at the time that you do the Andrew Mayne part.
But it's okay if I fly over to your house and sit in your living room and watch the show?
Oh, you'll have to email Eileen because I'm not home.
All right. That's it.
So
she can open the door for me when I get
it's
there.
It's fine with me as long as she doesn't have something going on that she wants to watch. I might have to change the Archer recording time.
Got it.
Because that's what happened last time is there was a show she was recording and there was Archer recording.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have been able to change the channel without canceling one of those.
Got it.
If I was home, I could figure this all out, but I'm not, so it's kind of a pain.
Okay, well, I'll just check with you then. Right on. All right, guys. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap on up.
Yeah.